So today is about looking at the fifth step of the 12-step program as we've been integrating, and I'm going to just touch on it for a moment, and then I'm going to delve off into what my heart wants to talk about. But I just want to touch on it for a moment because it will help set up what I want to share with you, which is probably very little of what I actually spent a few hours working on. But step 5, as for those of you that have been with us before, since the beginning of the year, we've integrated the 12 steps principles of AA along with the 12 promises of AA. And we take each one of those steps a Sunday a month, and then we've integrated into the 12 steps and the 12 promises, the 12 spiritual principles of the universe, along with 12 action steps, so that we can use these by integrating them all together. They create a wonderful plan, a wonderful instruction manual to assist us in our healing, in our growing, in our expansion process of accepting more of the awareness of how incredible we really are. And so it assists us in any part of us that still wants to deny how magnificent we are as human beings. Because you see, as human beings, we have the gift, the divine gift, to carry around and carry around this most blessed spirit. And inside of that spirit, there is a source energy. And that source energy has been alive for, I don't know, at least 12, 14, 15 or more billion years. And I don't know when it started, don't know when it originated. But I know the source energy that dwells within you, that gives your life presence, that gives you the ability to love, that gives you courage, that gives you trust, that gives you the ability to heal and move through the most difficult moments of your life, is the same source energy that we find in these trees, some of them being over 700 years old on this property. That source energy that grows inside of them and causes them to be a tree. The source energy that grows within a river and causes it to be a river. The source energy that grows within a mountain and causes it to be a mountain. The source energy that grows within the sun, within the galaxy, within the universe is the same source energy that grows within you. And when we touch that, how can you not fall in love with it? So what I want to admit to you today, I love God. I love God so doggone much that I had to get a dog to remind me of how wonderful God was. You all heard that one. What do you get when you spell God backwards? A dog, same thing though. Unconditional love. So this process of opening our hearts, guided by the 12 steps, 12 promises, 12 principles, and 12 action steps, is all about assisting us in growing in our awareness, perhaps of what needs to still be healed, cleansed, let go of, released, burned. And it also reminds us that that energy will create for us the perfect opportunities to heal. Have you noticed that there's ever been a common theme to your life? For what I create, I am. And what I know that a missing link that has always appeared in my life is the missing element of touching moments with a father figure. You see, what I got a lot of time in my life, and I've shared this because it came up so prevalent for me, and I got to really work on it these 5 days, which is a real blessing for me, is what became real prevalent for me is that in my life with my dad, 33 years of it, is I had very little of his soft side. Anybody have that in a father figure or a mother figure? You got a lot of the hard side. I got a lot of the wounding side, a lot of his hurt side. I got a lot of his anger side. I got a lot of his pain side. But when it came to the soft, precious, special moment side, dare I say sacred or spiritual moments. You know those moments when you connect with another human being, and be it your father, be it your partner, be it your best friend, be it a sibling, be it a child of yours. You know those moments where you just connect and you know there is something much larger at play than just two people interchanging words or looks or eyes or looks with each other or feelings. You know that there's something greater than that. I had none of that with my dad. None. So it created a whole void. And you see, that part of me never wanted to admit to that. You know, because I'm a man. I don't need softness from a father. I'm okay. Suck it up. Go forward. Be strong. Don't show a soft side. That soft side's not for men. And so these 5 days, I got to witness a son and a father having moments of tenderness that Mark Taylor and Stephen Taylor demonstrated for us. Yay. And you see few moments like that. And so what it immediately brought up in me is, wow, what I would have given, I'd have given a lot. And the group knows a lot. If I could have had one moment like that. And I witnessed this right in front of me, and I'm going, wow. Here I was, a minister and all that, and with my dad, and I couldn't create that with my dad, for I create what I am. And so I missed that element of life. But what I realized is, if I miss something, that means there's a void for it. And when there's a void, it will be filled. And it just may not be filled when you think it should be filled. And so, lo and behold, that emptiness that needed to be filled for all those years was simply waiting for April 27th through May 1st. And who am I to not say that that wasn't in accordance to the divine plan of the way the universe unfolds? That it's not up to me to be in control of how it needs to unfold, but to trust and surrender that it is unfolding just the way that it needs to be. When this tree starts to grow out here, it doesn't worry about whether it's going to have enough sun or it's going to have enough earth to grow out of or enough water. It just simply grows. And in divine order, everything will unfold for that tree in perfect timing. And that's a hard thing to trust. Especially when you got this big void inside that you're waiting to be filled, and you think it'll never be filled. And it'll never be tapped in such a way that it could be filled. And so this weekend, these 5 days, I had a couple of moments that absolutely brought, you know, when you're healing and the sobs are from the bottom of your soul, not from your throat, but from the depth of your beingness, and they're just bubbling up in uncontrollable tears, the most healing, powerful things that we know. Put that quote up, Dre, when you have it, of the tears. And it just, you like how I just kind of worked that in and can keep my flow going and my concentration going? Right now I'm just talking like this so I can get back to that area that I was at. But it's trusting that space that it will be filled at the appropriate time. And when those sobbing tears come forth, they truly are that divine blessing. And so what happened is I had a few moments where I got to actually ask Mark to nurture me in the way that I always wanted of my father, not a father, my father, to nurture me. And I have no idea what happened in Mark's previous life and what it took for him to end up at CIL and all the experiences that he ever went through in his entire years of life. But every one of them just wove in and nurtured and shaped and molded and prepared and guided and everything to be a gift. And so in a perfect moment, in a setting about healing, I had the opportunity to look into his eyes and say, can you bless me and see me in a way a father should see his son? And I never wanted to admit that, because that would be a sign of weakness and it would be a sign of something that I hadn't healed in my life again. Again. And Mark looked and touched and spoke to me in such a way that those years of missing, that absence, that void, just melted away. Have you had a moment like that, where years of hurt and pain and sadness, and it gets so hard inside of you that you just kind of shove it down and you just figure it'll never go away. It's just there, and it's just part of who we are. But then it comes to that perfect moment, and all of a sudden the heavens just break loose. And those tears come out in such a way that we can't always describe, but we've used this quote over the last 5 days. Oh, child, don't ever discount the wonders of your tears. They can be healing waters and a stream of joy. sometimes they are the best words the heart can speak. And how many of us have cut ourselves off from our tears, when indeed they can be the most precious words that our hearts can speak. And we will go not months, not years, but oftentimes decades in between allowing those gifts of healing to pour forth. And so I've been blessed this week to have 2 different times where I got to really address that missing sacred moments with my father. And having Mark play that role was a real gift for me. And I don't know why it was him, his energy, that just triggered that. But you know how sometimes there's a chemistry between you and another person, and you may not have known them forever, and sometimes a person shows up in your life just at the right time when everything needs to unfold? So what causes that to happen? Other than divine source, God. That energy that runs and pulses through you and causes you to be who you are, that presence, that divine thing, that's what I love. It really is a precious, precious treasure. And I just really thank Mark for being you, for showing up, and the great thing is, he's a part of our center. And will be for a long time. I'll come find you, Dad. So what I know is that when we have a need, and when the need is in its time to be healed, the need will be filled. And it's trusting that source that knows how to cause a tree to be a tree, that knows how to cause the sky to be blue, that knows how to cause the oxygen to be breathable, that knows how to cause a fish to know how to swim, that energy that knows how to cause the ocean to be blue, that energy that knows how to cause the snow to be white, that energy that knows the cycles of a tree, that knows the cycles of nature, that energy that knows what it is to be itself, that's what knows our healing process and what is necessary for us to continue to bloom, to continue to stretch, to continue to expand, to continue to open up to more of our authentic, real, true self, which continuously is that divine expression of that spiritual source energy coming through us and being magnified into our humanity. And what I always want us to understand, and what I want to be sure that I'm teaching as clearly as I can, is that when we're on this spiritual journey, it's not about, spending 20 minutes in the morning reading something nice and hanging out a little bit with God and doing some affirmation work and maybe lighting a candle or doing some prayer work, some meditation work, and we do our 20 minutes and we say, okay, we're good now. Now I'm going to go out and do what I really want to do for the rest of the day. That's not what a spiritual life is about. When we understand that this life source is the center of our life. It's not a pyramid, it's not a layered thing where a level of hierarchy where we have God and then self and then our life out here. When we're living the spiritual life, God is the center of our beingness. So every word that we speak, every action that we take, every thought that we have isn't coming separate from, but that we are on the mindful understanding and openness and awareness that each one of those is coming from the source energy, and that we live our life not separate or on a hierarchy level, but that God is at the center of our beingness and our activity and our actions and our thoughts. And when God is at the center of our beingness, not, I've done my God work for the day, now I can go out and be my ass self, which is how I live a lot of my life. Not proud, but true. Ask Crystal, she'll be happy to validate that. This is always the challenge about having your wife sit in service. That's why I'm always a lot happier when she's upstairs with the kids, then I don't always have to tell the truth. I can make you all think I'm really good. I'm a loving husband. All those sort of things. I'm making her blush, that's all right. So it's understanding that God is at the center of our very activity of life, not separate from. And sometimes when we create that separation, it can create sometimes really funny things in our life, such as a Mountie pulled over a car on the Trans-Canada Highway about 2 miles west of Winnipeg. When the Mountie asked the driver why he was speeding, the driver answered that he was a magician and a juggler, and he was on the way to Brandon to do a show that night at the Shrine Circus and didn't want to be late, so he was speeding. The Mountie told the driver he was just fascinated by juggling, and if the driver would do a little juggling for him, then he wouldn't give him a speeding ticket. The driver told the Mountie that he had sent all of his equipment on ahead and didn't have anything to juggle. Mountie told him no problem. He said, I have some flares in the trunk of my patrol car, and asked if you could juggle those. The juggler stated that he could, so the Mountie got 3 flares. To make it a little more complicated, he lit them. And he handed them over to the juggler. While the man was doing his juggling act, a car pulled in behind the patrol car. A drunk, good old boy, driving through from Alberta, I think Innisfail, got out and watched the performance briefly. He then went over to the patrol car, pulled open the rear door, and then got in. The Mountie observed him doing this and went over to his patrol car, opened the door, and asked the drunk what he thought he was doing. The drunk then replied to the Mountie, you might as well just take me to jail, because there's no effing way I can pass that test. Can't you just see that happening? I mean, out there in the plains of Canada, anything can happen. You know that. So here's what a lot of this week has been about, and a lot of what our own inner struggles are about during our daily, weekly, monthly life. From Julia Cameron, the author of Artist's Way, one of the best books, and one of these days we're going to get our study group and take that book on. It should be an ongoing class. It's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful book, is it not, Karen Adam? Karen Adam just loves Julia Cameron. She's awesome. And here's what the statement is. Each of us has an inner dream that we can unfold if we will just have the courage to admit what it is, and the faith to trust our own admission. The admitting is often very difficult. So what is it that you've been afraid to admit to about what you really want in life? What is it that you've been hesitant, that you've covered up for some reason or another? And so you've got off course and you've made other things in your life the focus of your everyday life, instead of listening to that inner voice. And you know what it's been saying to you, because it hasn't stopped talking. It's just you may have gotten muffled. Sometimes the talking's a little warbled. Sometimes it feels confusing when it's saying do one thing and you're doing something completely opposite. What has that inner voice been telling you? What is it that each of us has at times been afraid to admit to? Good or bad? Highs or lows? But it's that admitting when we say, wow, man, could I use a hug from my dad? That transformation happens. Could I have another hug?
Absolutely.
So what is it that we're hesitant to admit to? And the more that we admit the truth to ourselves, man, can we grow from it. Let us pray. Turning within to that infinite source, to the great causation of life. And what we've learned this weekend, these 5 days, is this is how expansive the universe is that we're a part of. We are one galaxy, and the latest news on the universe from Stephen Hawking, considered the greatest astrophysicist of our time, is that we live in a universe that contains 200 billion galaxies. And each one of those galaxies contain at least 200 billion stars, moons, planets. We are one out of 200 billion galaxies. That leap, that number has stretched us from just a short time ago of 125 billion. Now it's up to 200 billion. And what if that's only the beginning? What if in 10 years from now we find out that estimate that there's 500 billion? How about 1,000,000 billion? Who knows how big this universe is? And so why I share that with you is that when we look at infinite source, there is nothing that we cannot share with infinite source. With creation, with love, with confidence, that when we share and raise our willingness to admit our voids, what's missing in our lives, what we want for our lives, what we desire for our lives, our dreams, when we open ourselves and admit those to the infinite presence, all that power knows is to swoop in, provide the energy that is necessary, the resources, the intelligence, the wisdom, the information, the people, the places that is necessary for that energy to manifest into our real life. And as we admit, whether it's our wrongs, our pluses, our minuses, our dreams, our hurts, all that we do is we create an opening, a void for it then to be filled. And when we hold those admissions inside of ourselves, then there's no room for there to be a filling. There's no void created. But when we admit our deepest, darkest hurts, our deepest, darkest dreams and visions, wishes and hopes, then we are opening it up to that infinite source to flow through. And there is a power that is generated through when we share those deepest, darkest parts of us, those brightest dreams, with another human being that we deeply and confidently trust. There is a sense of freedom that immediately pulses through our being. And we grasp a hold of, we connect to that freedom. So I know that each of us is walking out of here today when we finish our time together in community, that there is a courage to delve deep into your parts and look into your being and look at what is it that you have never admitted to yourself, to God, or to another human being. And that by doing so, you are providing not only yourself with a great gift of healing, but you may be blessing another, knowing that you are willing to trust them. So whether it's a counselor, whether it's a trusted friend, whether it's a minister, a confidant, finding some way to admit those deepest parts and aspects of who we are is the gift of this day. What if I admitted that I really missed my dad and missed special moments? Had I not been willing to admit those, I would have never had the blessing that Mark provided throughout these last few days and prayerfully will provide down in the road. What if I admitted? On this day, the presence of Source is so very proud of each of us. And that essence is the core of our being. It is from which we source our life, our words, our comments, our looks from, our words, our energy from. As we grow in our understanding that God is not up there. It's in, around, and through all. And from that source energy, we go forth on this day with gratitude, with love, with peace, with joy, carrying forth our healing energy into the beauty, into the reverence of this time and this space. This is community. I simply let go and let God do its perfect work. If it knows how to grow a tree, it certainly knows how to heal my wounds. Amen.